Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another church in Worcestershire. This is the Church of St Martin, Holt. It's located just above the River Severn, next to 14th century Holt Castle. The church, however, is Norman and retains some Norman features. It has, of course, been added to and altered over the centuries and was restored in 1859, but unfortunately all the wall plaster was taken off, leading to a rather gloomy interior because this is, of course, local red sandstone, which just was never met, or certainly doesn't make for a bright and shiny interior, but we've got electric lighting, so that's all right. We'll have a look around. There's some interesting features, very nice font, some nice memorials. Obviously, we are next to a castle, and genuine castle that. It's still in private hands, and it's now somebody's very nice house. So we'll have a look around and see what we can see. As usual, then we start at the west end, and you can see here, looking east, that Norman chancel arch, and then above it you've got a Victorian, basically mosaic tympanum of Christ as the Good Shepherd. The walls, I've said, they are local red sandstone. You see their Norman window openings in the north wall. The door, there is no porch. There used to be one. In fact, it's still around somewhere, but it's not attached to the building anymore. And therefore, you've got these curtains on the inside. I mentioned the font. This is the font. Look at that face. This is a very interesting example. This sort of monster faces that you get on, and there's a whole load of them all the way around it. It's certainly related to the Herefordshire school of carving, and rope mould around it, and you can see it's lined with lead. And so that is the font. Here is the War Memorial. You can see the difference between the First World War and the Second World War. Just two in the second, and all those names in the first. The pews, although they are not terribly old, they are quite interesting. Certainly, someone's put some effort into them. They haven't been bought out of a catalogue, which is nice. There is a little south chapel. That obviously is where the organ is at the moment. So nice little south chapel. And it looks like a font, doesn't it, that pulpit? It's actually a pulpit. It's obviously based on a Herefordshire school font, that. Normans didn't carve pulpits. Normans didn't really have pulpits. So, lacking a model of a Norman pulpit, the sculptor has gone to a Norman font instead. It's a very interesting idea. It's kind of, well, if the Normans had done pulpits, what would they have looked like? And I think it's as good an idea as any. You can see you've got that sort of knotwork, and someone has been very, very, very clever and very creative in that. It's a lovely piece of work. In the chancel, we've got these two, you can see these mosaic angels, Sanctia lamp, and mosaic reredos, and that is not Norman, but it's imitation Norman, which is fine. Blocked low side window here, and the choir stall here has what are called poppy heads. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with the flower or poppy. It's actually from it's a mangled version of the French poupée, a doll. I think not much like dolls either, mind you. So there we are, looking west down the nave. You can see the commandments at the back. There is a chapel here. This is the South Chapel, and there's a few memorials. Note the niches either side, different designs, but still niches, and they would have had some functions. There's a piscina here, which is 13th century by the look of it, and that's always quite interesting. Here we have memorial to Sir Henry Bromley, Knight, son and heir of Sir Thomas Bromley, Knight and Lord Chancellor of England, who departed his life at his castle of Shrawden in the county of Salop. That's Shrawdene, 1615. A nice piece of sculpture there. and one suspects that the castle here would have been another of his castles. Here we are, we're inside now the chancel. You can see a nice carved arch there. The floors the floor has these ledger slabs, and there are burials underneath. Some of these tiles are medieval. This is another nice touch. As I said, you've got this following motifs from Norman architecture, and these brass altar rails. Again, it's what would the Normans have done if they'd done brass altar rails, and it'd be like this. It's very clever if you think about it. And here we are in the side chapel. You've got these three interesting niches. I'm not sure what they're for, if anything. But these tiles down here, these are medieval. These are encaustic tiles, and you can see that each tile is individual, but they make up a pattern. When they're put together, you get these circular patterns, and each is slightly different, so it's all been made specially. Stained glass here is 15th century, and this is the remains of an Annunciation. There is Gabriel, and there is the Virgin Mary. And there's the organ, and we look back into the chancel there with its lights on, very nice. And this is the Lady Chapel, and this is a memorial to Henry Bromley, Esquire, late Lord of this manor, and 1653, so he would have lived at the castle here, or owned the castle here anyway, and stayed at it sometimes. We have here a really lovely piece of Baroque sculpture. I see those putty, that's a technical term, they're often referred to as cherubs, but the proper term is putty. Now up there we've got a funerary helm and tabard, both thoroughly protected to prevent them from thieves who break in and steal. This effigy is believed to be the daughter of Sir John Beauchamp of Holt, second to last Baron of Kidderminster, who died 1420. And it's been painted. Now, the paint is not original, but the paint reflects what the original would have been, because of course medieval effigies were painted. It's a really good example to look at and go, this is what medieval memorials were supposed to look like. You were supposed to look at them and see not just a plain stone statue, but you were supposed to see an effigy of the person as they would have been in life. That's looking back there into the Lady Chapel, the South Chapel. It would have been the Lady Chapel because they're dedicating it to St. Martin. And you can see here these niches cut in. It's a really lovely piece of medieval work, and although the Victorians have done that awful business of taking all the wall plaster off, you have got this rather fun pulpit. I mean, and the organ was originally by John Nicholson. That's Nicholson of Worcester. Lots of the organs around here are for obvious reasons. This is Worcestershire. So that is the inside here at St. Martin's, Holt. So St. Martin's, Holt, exterior. It's a small village. There's part of it is down by the River Severn, where there's a large inn, and up here because the castle and some farmhouses and other buildings surrounding the church. So we'll have a look around and see, among other things, more evidence of the building history of this fascinating medieval structure. So there we go, you can see here the tower, and that appears to be 15th century, as so many are. The chapel here is 14th century. You can see a blocked doorway that would have led inside. Now the lich gate is the old porch. So there was a porch, isn't it anymore? And there's the castle across the road, but we won't look at the castle. Let's say somebody lives there, which is a nice thing if you can get it. You can see there's that doorway, and there's the castle. You can see how close the castle and the church are, which is a very common thing because the castle is the manor house here. It's what they call a fortified manor house, but essentially what it comes down to, and I need to explain some of this for American viewers, that to build a castle, you needed a license from the king. So the crown had to give you a license to crenellate. And it was a way for the monarch to maintain their own power, but also it was a way for, well, it became a way of effectively, it became a status symbol. You had a castle, you got a license to crenellate, and you put a tower on your manor house and some walls. Well, here we are. This is the Norman south doorway, and yeah, look at him, big grin. And on this side, fella pulling his mouth open, there's a dragon eating its own tail, which is all rather fun. That's a prefabricated, well, that's not being prefabricated, that's a portable structure. It's obviously the church room, and why not? If you need somewhere for Sunday school, then that's better than nothing, isn't it? It's like the mobile classrooms that they used to have, and you can see here some memorials, and where sheep may safely graze. It's interesting to get here because you have to go down a no-through road. So there we have that tower, and again you can see, yes, 15th century, certainly at the top. Maybe the lower bit's 14th century, but you can see that bit at the top. And then around the north side, as a license to crenellate became a status symbol. Initially it's to do with the king controlling basically power, who has access to a defensible house, and of course you only give people you trust the ability to defend the house. I mean, look at that. That's a really nice Norman north side there, because of course on the south side they built on the chapel, but here there isn't anything built on, so you can see what that Norman structure looks like. And again, you've got this beautiful carved, beautiful Norman carvings. You've got there, that looks like well, it's probably intended to be a cockerel. And that's a beautiful structure. And obviously these are the stables and other things associated with the castle. Little vestry off there, and yes, that's perfect Norman work. You can see how much smaller the windows look on the inside. This window is not Norman, it's Victorian, but it's the idea we actually need to get some light into this building because we need to be able to see what we're doing, especially since we took all the wall plaster off. Yes, well, you can see more Norman work here. So the chancel is partly Norman, been extended in the 13th century, as so many are, because the 13th century, as I've said many times before, you have changes in how, well, changes in the liturgy basically. So that's that beautiful Norman church, and then yes, you've got this porch, and they've gone, we don't like having this porch on this church, so we'll turn to a lich gate instead. But it's such a typical English setup here. You know, you've got the manor house, the castle, and the church across the road. So very common in England. And there, you can see that's where there was a low side window there. And as we go around here, you've got the old door into the Lady Chapel, now thoroughly blocked up, and there is the back of the south doorway. And this here would be a squint, which would enable somebody outside to look and see the celebration of the Mass. So that is Holt, St Martin's. So St Martin's Holt, beautiful Norman building opposite a 14th century castle. There would have been an older manor house there, but 14th century, license to crenellate, license to build your house in a bigger, posher way. So there we are, little piece of rural England. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.